Hi souls, I'm Ali.
And I'm Ebz, and welcome to the Divine Soliloquy podcast, where we share with you a higher level of thought consciousness from our own personal perspectives.
This is a safe space to join us as we vibrate in and out of banter and soulful conversations. Hi guys, what do you do?
Hey guys, welcome back. We're back again.
I know, so family, we're back on audio. We missed
you so much. Thank you for joining us again. So Ali, what are we getting into today?
Right guys, what we're going to do is we really want to hear more from you guys. We love connecting and engaging with you all, and we want to just have you guys share your soliloquies with us. And what that will look like is every episode that we do, we would like to hear from you, just your topic of discussion, your thoughts and feelings and your views and opinions, what you think about it really. And we want to incorporate that in the podcast so we can hear from you and learn from you and, you know, all broaden our perspectives together.
So yes, definitely for that, you need to be following us on Instagram, please. What's our Instagram again, Ali? Divine.soliloquy.
It's a divine.soliloquy. That's divine.soliloquy.
Why?
We haven't done that in so long. I missed it. I missed that.
It feels like a long time, but yes. So you have to be following us on Instagram in order for us to obviously receive your soliloquies. So please make sure you do that, and definitely after this episode, let us know what you think about this topic. And on that note, Ali, what is the topic? What are we talking about today?
Right. We are actually going to discuss relationships, but this time, because I can hear everyone going, tomatoes, like not another relationship podcast. I know. No, I mean, guys, come on. It's about navigating relationships. That's existence, that's living. But let me not get too deep. Let everyone just chill. We're going to discuss when friends get into relationships, because I think this is a thing. It's a thing.
Yes. We saw in a post on, was it Twitter or was it Instagram?
It was actually a tweet. Well, it was actually my tweet, you know.
Oh, okay.
Because, thank you. It was my tweet. So basically.
Plug.
Yeah, I know. Plug. I was having a conversation actually with a dear friend of mine. And, you know, about relationships. Yes, tomato, whatever. And she said something very interesting. So I'm going to read to you the tweet. And it says as follows. I want like a drum roll or something, Ebz. Like, that was so dramatic and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It says, well, she said to me, a lot of people don't truly invest in friendships because they're using friends as placeholders until they get into romantic relationships.
Wow. You know what's interesting?
That sounded so... This is you. Wow.
No,
like you totally saw the tweet.
Why are you drawing me out?
Wow. So like, oh my God, drama was not your thing.
It wasn't that. That's not why I was saying wow. I was saying wow because we haven't spoken about this topic before.
No, we haven't.
We've usually when we do our podcast, we've had extensive conversations about the topic before, and we want to come and share it with you. But we actually haven't spoken about this in depth. Anyway.
Yeah, this is fresh. This is a virgin topic.
Fresh. It really is.
Hymen and
so, you know, our intention for this is just to see if we have any different perspectives or experiences behind the topic and see what we come out with. And hopefully you can kind of flow in and out with us. So that's why I was like, wow, like, let's get into it. I'm excited about this topic because whenever we talk about stuff, I don't know where it's going to end up, and I like that shit. So if you like stuff like that, then you'll like this type of conversation. So
and stay tuned. That was a plug. Stay tuned, please listen. Calm down, bitch.
But yeah, I low-key agree with the statement, but it's an interesting statement because it's hard. We're basically either trying to differentiate whether your friendships are just as valuable, or maybe valuable is not even the word. Are your friendships, do they hold the same weight as your romantic relationships? And if we really think about it, yes and no. At the end of the day, who you choose your partner to be is going to be for the rest of your life, someone who you're going to have children with, you're going to build with, you're going to integrate each other's families and blend. And so yeah, inevitably you probably will have to approach friendships differently once you get into a serious relationship, like marriage with kids and stuff like that. So I don't necessarily, I don't know, I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it was to say it's a placeholder, but it just shifts in a different way when you get into a serious relationship anyway, and when you're actually taking things a bit seriously. You just don't have as much energy and as much time to put into your friends like you did before necessarily. I mean, I feel like I can juggle, so I'm not talking to myself.
girl.
Cool. I think I've been very good at keeping the same energy with my friendships when I'm in relationships. But I mean, you know, Ali can obviously let me know, but I feel like nothing necessarily massively changes. I think, I don't know. But I don't know. What do you think? Like, do you think it's a bad thing or a good thing? Or how do you feel about the statement?
Oh, okay. So, with what you said, and from that perspective, yes, I agree. Because it's a very broad statement, isn't it? That you could umbrella it and put anything underneath.
Yeah.
However, when I look at it from the perspectives of people that don't take the time, because let me just get up the tweet again, reference points. A lot of people don't truly invest in friendships. So that was the key to it. Truly invest in friendships because they're using friends. And I think maybe that's where it gets a bit like, using. I think when we look at it from the perspective of people are quite flippant sometimes in their friendships. They're not really trying to truly get to know the person all the time. They just find commonality and go from there. So if we both like raving or art or food or whatever, and then a lot of people's relationships are spent with their friends are spent speaking about either wanting to date or dating or their partners. A lot of people don't really,
relationships.
or other people. Yeah, they're not really getting to know each other. And that was sort of the topic when it came up, when that person said it to me.
Do you truly believe that, though? Do you truly believe that friendships, like, especially nowadays, you think that friendships are not really getting to know their friends properly?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Really? I don't.
I think that I feel like, not everybody, by the way, I'm just speaking about a portion of people, but yeah, I do, because I think that a lot of people will be surprised. I noticed that in the element surprise when people have certain conversations or they choose to share something and that person's quite shocked by it, or when they're in settings where you would assume they would know that person, what they're like. I think a lot of people confuse understanding or knowing someone's mannerisms or things that you just get to know when you're around someone a lot as actually knowing the person. If you spend a lot of time with someone, you might know their favorite drink is apple juice if you're observant enough, or when they get really angry their nose twitches because you're around them often. But in terms of knowing the person, I think it's very different.
That's interesting. Is that from your experience, or is just what you've like outside of your experience? 'Cause I don't
observation.
Okay.
I think observation, not necessarily experience, because of who I am and the investment I have in my friendships and my friends and the questions that I ask them. They tend to, even if they're not super, super deep individuals, they'll at least do the you. Yeah. Does that make sense? So then they get that experience, but not really. And we've had similar conversations about the questions people aren't even asking their partners to enter relationships.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that was what I was actually going to say. To be fair, I was going to say, to be honest with you, we can't really judge it on our relationships, like as in me and Ali, because I think we're extremely intentional no matter what relationship it is, whether it's a friendship or a romantic partner. But I think a lot of people, no matter whether it's a relationship or a romantic partner, a lot of people, no matter whether it's a friendship or a romantic partner, don't have that depth anyway. So it's kind of, do you know what I mean?
So then so you're saying the investment can just be time?
Yeah, what do you mean? What do you mean the investment can be time?
Because I think obviously, it's a big part of a bigger conversation. Hello, podcast. Do you know what I mean? So if you don't necessarily, you're not someone that delves in general.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Then you can't expect to do. I understand that point.
Yeah, but some people just don't care to know. They just want to know the surface level stuff. Can you provide certain things that make me happy, friends or not, friends or boyfriend, let's say, and do I like spending time with you, and are you cute, and are you good for my image, and then you go from here. That supersedes all of their relationships. So it might be a thing of like, that's just who they are. as
But
opposed to
okay,
it's
so the
different.
placeholder part of it, I understand that part of the statement as well, because there are a lot of people, going back to what you said, that you're able to juggle. A lot of people can get into relationships and they don't prioritize their friendships at all. And
Yeah.
that list can look however. And when they do prioritize their friendships, is when they're going through something in with their partners.
Yeah.
That's when they find that friend again. So I think maybe that's where the statement, it was birthed around those lines anyway.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why it's written the way it's written. And that happens a lot. There are a lot of people that get into relationships and they are, whew. And I get it. You know, you go through the honeymoon stage, you want to be with this person. I get it. Everyone's allowed to do what they want to do, by the way, guys.
Yeah.
Disclaimer.
Yeah.
But it does get a little bit self ... whatever you want to say, selfish, self-absorbed, self-centered, whatever it is, when you're coming back to your friendships only when you're going through hardship. Getting that information, spending that quality time and leaving again, it can feel placeholdery.
So, okay, I think maybe the phrase placeholdery then is what I probably would disagree with. I think usually people, the specific scenario you're talking about where people will have you there only when they need you in a time of like, I don't know, I was going to say trauma, but when they're arguing with their man and they need to call you up and be like, this ain't shit and he did da 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 da. Isn't that basically previously before that they were just grooming you so that you could be that person for them when they get into the relationship? So it wasn't necessarily a placeholder, because it's not like to say a lot of people are confiding in their partners in the way that they confide in their friends. So their safe space is probably still their friends, just when it's convenient for them, if that makes any sense. So I could be in a relationship with someone knowing that I have a friend who's really good at giving advice, knowing that I have a friend who is really empathetic, and I'm trying not to trigger you, Ali. I know a friend who is just like,
why?
because obviously you're
empathetic.
empathetic, you're a friend who gives good advice. And so when I'm going through a crisis in my relationship, I always think to myself, this is why I love Ali. I'm just going to say, just scenario wise, because I know that she's that type of person and I can get that type of attention from her. And she's always been that type of person. Like, essentially what I'm asking is, before they got into the relationship, were you already that type of person for them anyway? And when they got into the relationship, they just used you in a different way. It's still using, but I feel like it's more of like a lot of people use friends. You know what I mean? Like, the placeholder word is a bit.
But they would have still had a place, because I've seen and witnessed relationships with others, and I've to some degree experienced it. I can say I've experienced it, I guess. It's just maybe I'm so aware of it that it doesn't feel like a bad experience, because I'm just aware of people and their behaviors. Does that make sense? It didn't feel anything bad. But I've seen it, and I think as a third party, that's why I keep describing it more from that third party point of view, because it's really interesting when you're just on the sidelines watching it happen. That's when the person I've seen people that will take individuals necessarily outside of their comfort to be around. So it's like, right, I'm single, let's go out, let's do this, hey, what you doing, da-da-da. And then they get into that relationship and they don't want to do anything with that person anymore. They don't want to do anything with that person anymore. So they're not going to call them and say, let's go and catch up here. Or that person can't reach them if they're going through a certain time and they want to have communications about that, because that person's so consumed in their relationship. It's just, they're not reachable anymore. So it can, I think that's why I could understand why she said what she said and why she phrased it. Because I think because I had the conversation as well, I think I've already got it from the perspective of someone that was expressing that feeling.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So maybe that's why I can see it through that lens.
It almost sounds like as if they're doing the same thing to the partner as well, to be fair. Because let's just call a spade a spade. You're using both of them. If you were using the friend while you didn't have a partner to go out all the time and to basically just distract yourself from the fact that you didn't have a partner, and then you finally get a partner, and you're throwing all your time and energy into that partner now, and like we said before, a lot of people aren't really having in-depth relationships anyway, they're basically doing the same thing. Like, I don't think either person wins. I don't think the partner or the friend is coming out of it very good, because I truly believe, and I know this is going to ruffle a lot of feathers, I actually don't care. I think if you cannot maintain friendships, then it's going to be either very difficult for you to maintain romantic relationships, or you're going to feel extremely isolated in them, and they're not going to be fruitful, in my personal opinion. Because a relationship,
I 100% agree.
A relationship is a relationship, regardless of whether it's romantic or platonic. It's a relationship. You are connecting with someone, you're sharing with someone, you're opening up, you're being vulnerable, you're sharing experiences with that person. It doesn't matter. I've got connections with friends that, if I'm honest, are deeper than some of the connections I've ever had with a romantic partner. So I don't feel like, when people are like, mostly women are like, I can't be friends with other women. Not gonna lie, it's a you problem still. Like, I'm sorry if it hurts someone. That's not my business. Take it up with your Lord and Savior. But it's a you problem, essentially, because relationships are just that. They're relationships. They're not boyfriendships or girlfriendships or motherships. They're everything. And if you can't keep them, at least for an extended amount of time, then the common denominator is you. So the person who is all into their friendships before they get into a relationship, and then all into their relationships when they get into it, the problem is them, essentially. Like, the friend and the partner are not really winning in either situation. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, it sounds like discernment might be missing on all parties, to be fair.
Yeah.
But that actually leads me into my point, because I wanted to, my next point, because I wanted to kind of make this conversation as big and small as possible, guys, because, you know, we've only got a certain amount of time to have your attention. How this can look, essentially. Do you know what I mean? So what can it look like? What kind of traits do people typically exhibit when they're in relationships, and they're not always seen or perceived as being a good friend because they're in that relationship?
What does it look like?
Yeah, what that can look like. So besides just feeling like the person feels used, for example, like I said, they feel like they're going out all the time and they're doing whatever, they're unreachable. I would say also, to piggyback off of what you said, a lot of people don't actually really get to know their partner.
No.
If that makes any sense. So
All their friends,
with their friendships, they might not necessarily get to know their friends, but I feel like a lot of people feel a bit safer with their friends than they do with their partners. Sometimes, not everyone, but sometimes. And the reason why I say that is because when they go back to their friendships, allegedly, I just wanted to use that word so badly, but when they go back to their friendships, a lot of people feel a bit freer to vent and to say what they wanted to say and just really truly get it out in that way. And I've had conversations with friends, as Ebz kindly pointed out, that, you know, I'm a confidant. Well, you didn't say that, but whatever. That's what
I did.
And when I have conversations with some of my friends, sometimes they will say, I'll ask them questions, because I tend to ask people questions and just probe to see where they're at mentally. And I get a lot of, I don't know, or I haven't asked. I haven't spoken to him about that. I just don't know. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't know?
What do you talk about? It's like watching a fucking episode of Love Island. Like, they don't actually talk about anything. It's just like, how do you lot get into relationships? I don't understand.
I mean, we know. We've had podcasts on this. They don't need that much to get into relationships sometimes. Nobody does, because sometimes the desire of being in a relationship is greater than actually being in a relationship with someone you desire.
Yeah. Ooh, wait.
That was really good.
Say that again.
Ooh,
that was a really good one.
Thank you. Oh my god, my head is so big right now. I have no idea. So gassed. Hold on, I'm actually trying to deflate my cheekbones so I can continue. Because you know when you're really proud of something. That was a moment.
No, that was a really good quote. Did you write that shit down?
No, I'm gonna remember it because my head is so big. Like, I promise you, it's getting really big. It's really big. I don't know what's going on. Fuck. But oh my gosh, Ebz, come on! You're just so getting off topic, and
I'm sorry. It's your fault. Why are you spitting bars? Like, what do you expect?
You didn't do your. You know, I'm not an NC. I'm the lyricist. I'm the poet. Like, that was your time to shine. To be honest.
I'm sorry. Next time. I promise.
Thank you. Sorry. Right, guys. Sorry. What was I saying? What that looks like? I would say, yeah, in my experience as well, or experiences that I've counseled others through, a lot of people feel abandoned. And I think that's why this topic really did come about. in the conversation that I had with my friend, a lot of people feel abandoned by their friends when they get into relationships. They feel forgotten and they feel used when people come back for just advice or stuff, or when they're single again, and I can actually see why people feel that way, which is really interesting, because I don't think people feel that way if the person has a child. And I don't feel that if people feel that way if the person is married. Do you think?
Yeah, they do.
I find that people that have children get a little bit more, they get more excuses.
They get more allowances, but the feeling's still there. A lot of people just don't. I don't think a lot of people voice the feeling, because sometimes what tends to happen is, if you say you're one of the only people in your friendship group who isn't in a relationship and doesn't have kids, what happens is all your friends who have kids will like link up and have like little kid dates, and is that what they're called? They're not called kid dates, play dates, and have little play dates, and you will feel really left out and abandoned at that. You won't be able to say it because it's not very PC to say. Like, you can't be like, I'm jealous that you guys have kids and leave me out all the time. You can't say that, because they'll look at you like, are you alright? I have kids, like, what do you want me to do? Do you know what I mean? Or if everyone's too tired to go out because they have kids, you're not going to be able to just say, well, I feel like you guys don't care about me that much because, like, now you've got kids and that's all you think about. People just aren't allowed to express it, but I think they do feel that way. 100%.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, when I've got quite a few friends with children, and you get the whole, I mean, you know, Poppy's having a birthday bash and you can come if you want to, but you don't have to. Yeah. You can leave like in 20 minutes if you want to. They typically feel like, you're not going to enjoy this, let me not include you. I get that a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're at different stages.
I'm gonna confess though, I'm that friend that will, don't invite me to your kids' party, please.
Really?
Unless it's my like my godchildren, my nieces, nephews, or if you're a really good long time friend, then I consider them like nieces or nephews, fine. If not, I don't need to come to a kids' party. I can come at the very end and help you tidy up. I can help you with the party bags the day before. I can do so many other things, but I don't want to do it.
Oh my God,
I work 5 days
kids'
a week.
Parties.
No, not me. I only have a few days that are to myself, or a few hours, and I just don't want to spend it around other people's picnic that are wayward as well, by the way, and you can't do anything about it, and then you just end up like feeling mad creepy in the corner because everyone's talking like, oh yeah, she only spit twice this week, and then different things are happening, and you're just standing there and you're like, Mind you, sorry to cut you, but if the organizer of the event is your friend and everyone else you don't really know like that as well, it's even wasserer, because they're occupied with just doing party stuff. You don't really know anyone else like that, and the only way to bond is to talk about your kid that you don't have. So it's like, no, I'm just here, just basically.
A little plus one. I hear that. I think maybe because I've never been in that situation where I don't know anyone else. I've been in like mostly family situations where like I've got like even just like extended cousins, their children will have a party, and I'll definitely pull up. Like, I don't know, I love kids parties.
If it's the 1-year-old's party, you can invite me to, because as you know, a black family, that 1-year-old party,
not even for the 1-year-old.
Not for the 1-year-old. You don't even really see the one. Sometimes you're invited and it's like extended family, and you see the kid like in pictures and stuff, and you're like, oh shit, that's what Jane's little one looks like, cute, innit? But you don't actually see the kid for the whole party.
Night. Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah, no, I love that.
I can do that.
That's why I like it, because usually once the kids are passed out sleeping, it turns into a little shrubs. So I'm good.
No, I'm talking when they try to invite me. You know, when they get to like 7 or 8 and they do that thing.
I'm sorry, but I know that when my kids have birthdays, it's gonna turn into a shrubs no matter what.
No, no, I'm talking about, some people have events where it's at,
I know, like play parks space. And like, I know.
Yeah, play parks.
But
and
even
stuff.
then, like, come back to my house, innit? We'll continue this party elsewhere. Like, I don't know. Like,
I will go
I just
to
love
that, but don't invite me to the play park.
Oh no. Okay, no. Don't invite me to the play park if I don't have kids. That's different. I thought you just meant like a party.
No. I'm not speaking about the party where the aunties cook. I will turn up to them without my containers. Of course I'm going. Don't be ridiculous and go and get my weekly meals. Are you dumb? I'm definitely going to those parties. I'm speaking about the ones where Ronald McDonald sent the invitation and the fucking kids, excuse my friend. Love them, by the way. I'm actually very maternal. Because I really am. Like, I love children, but I just don't necessarily want to go to kids' parties. And
I hear that.
that needs to be normalized, okay?
Yeah.
Stop forcing auntie friends and judging them.
go.
No, I'm getting very
No,
passionate.
I know you are, Baba. I know.
People don't get it.
I get it. We're getting off topic there. Getting off topic.
No, we are, yeah.
Okay, so I agree with the whole like statement about, you know, if you have kids, your friends have kids and stuff like that, you can feel like very left out. What I did want to ask you though is, do you sometimes think that people don't necessarily go into things looking at community in that way where your friends are also like a chosen part of your community? They look at it more like, yeah, they're not family, but like I look at my friends as like, I actually chose you. I didn't have to stay friends with you. I didn't have to have you in my life. Whereas family, you're kind of obliged. Well, you're not really, but you know, you've got more of an obligation. And I think because people don't have that necessarily blood connection to friends, but then they'd have obviously the connection with their romantic partner where they're going to build a life together, automatically friends kind of get put on the back burner in that way. Because then remember, some people have really big families. So some people have cousins that are friends more than friends are friends. Do you know what I mean? So that's also what I'm thinking as well. Like if you've got a big family, like I've got a big family, majority, I'd say 50-50. Half of my friends are cousins and half of my friends are friends that I've chosen. And like close as well, like cousins, close friends to me. So am I more inclined to like take my cousin relationship more seriously than my friend relationship? Not necessarily, but I can understand why somebody else would.
That's a big question because there's quite a few questions in there.
Yeah, sorry.
So the first one, I think you're just trying to ask me, do you think that a lot of people see their friendships as a sense of community, basically?
Yeah.
That will have a hand in the next stage in their lives, I'm assuming?
Yeah. Yeah, community, family, kind of same thing, I guess.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do. I think it depends on the age. I think it depends on the age. I can't tell you how many God pick me I would have had if I committed to certain friendships when I was in my late tweens, early 20s. Do you understand what I mean? I think a lot of people aren't or didn't necessarily look at it like that at that stage in their lives. And then some people, like from what I know about you, you always have. So yes and no. I think it just depends on the person and what they were exposed to. I would say upbringing, but I don't think that's true. I think it depends on their exposure and their morals, and what they want for their future, and how much they consider their children when they're picking their relationships in their lives. Because when I choose a friend, definitely when I choose a partner, but just for the sake of this topic, when I choose my friends, I do think about what friends I would want around my children.
Did you do that when you were younger or?
When I was younger, no, not really. But because I've always been a very cautious and private person, there's a lot of people, I think subconsciously, I've always protected my inner world. So although I didn't necessarily consider it, it wouldn't have been affected because there are a lot of friends in my life now that have still never met my family. We've been friends for years. So, and that's simple. It's almost like, so no, I didn't, to answer your question, but I had that protective barrier by my natural personality, luckily.
Well, that's interesting. Why have some of your friends never met your family if you expect your friends to be essentially a part of your family and not forget you when they get into a relationship?
Because of my life patterns.
Okay.
So it would have been not necessarily deliberate at one stage of my life. And now at this stage of my life, I'm having time to enjoy my family. And when the opportunity presents itself, because everyone's doing their own thing, a lot of people meet, in my experience anyway, a lot of people meet people's families because a lot of people still live at home or they've known each other for a very long time. I don't have that life story. So for me to introduce someone to my family, that's a very intentional, deliberate meeting. That a lot of people don't necessarily have to do. Once you invite someone into your home, if you live with your mum or your dad or whoever, they by chance automatically meet that family member so long you don't mind that parent being in.
Okay, so let's get a bit personal. Let's get to know Ali and Ebz a little bit more, right? Have your family ever met a partner of yours?
Yes.
Okay. And obviously, yes, me too. So, if your family can meet your partner, but your family can't meet your friends, is it safe to say that, not that they can't meet your friends, but they haven't? I think it would be safe to say that in general, even subconsciously, we do actually put our friendships on a different level to everything else, even not just romantic relationships, but also family ones too.
Not for me, no, because my family stumbled in that particular individual. I didn't introduce them. So if it was up to me and what I done went out, so for me, no.
Intentionally, yeah. Okay,
For
fair
me,
enough.
no,
Yeah.
it wasn't intentional.
Okay, fine. But for some people, it's the same, but intentionally, they haven't met family members before. So I think in general, the reason why I'm asking that question, the reason why I'm like trying to not necessarily draw you out, but I'm trying to get that out because I think naturally we think of friends because we choose them. They don't necessarily come to us in an obligatory way, if that makes sense. So it's continuously a choice, where a lot of the time I think with family and with partners, it's more so obligatory, especially when you marry someone and you have kids with them and you've built a life with them. It becomes a different level of obligation at that point than you have with a friend.
There's no denying that they are very different types of relationships. Mm-hmm. There's no denying that. I feel like we can both agree on that.
Yeah.
However, I think that the value that some people place on their friendship versus their relationships is where I could understand why the initial statement was made.
Yeah. I'm thinking whether I still don't wholeheartedly agree with the statement. I'm not gonna lie. Simply because I think it's a thing of like, people don't actually go in depth with any of their relationships. That's where I'm coming from. I think people who have intentional friendships will have intentional relationships and will still make time. I think people who are naturally selfish will always just use whoever's in their life, whether that be a friend or a partner. Whether the partner sees it or not, it's none of my business, but you being used too, boo. You know, until you're not doing what the person wants.
I don't agree with that.
Until the boyfriend or girlfriend is not doing or is not pleasing that person the way that, not in that way, guys. Get your mind out the gutter. Is not making that person happy in the way they want to, i.e., they break up. It's still them using them. A lot of people don't stay in relationships if they're not happy. It's got nothing to do with about whether they like the person or not. It's just got to do with the fact that, are you making me happy? And if you're not making me happy, I'm bouncing. So it is
I completely disagree with that last statement. There are so many people in relationships that are unhappy and committed to staying and feel trapped.
My point is that if you are somebody who uses your relationships like that, you will have used your friendships like that. That's the correlation I'm trying to make. Not necessarily that somebody who doesn't do that won't do vice versa, if that makes sense. I think if you're a user in general, you're going to use your friends and your partner in that way.
Maybe, potentially, but I feel like from what I've seen or witnessed, it doesn't usually it goes in favour of the partner. I find that some people can just use their friends and not just use their partners. Because if we look at it from the perspective as like a taker, some people take from their friends to give to their partners.
Take from their friends to give to their partners?
Huh? Yeah, so they might. So what does that look like? Oh, why am I talking to them?
Do you have a story time for us, girl? Spill the tea.
Oh my goodness, no, I do not have a story time. I just have like 20,000 of them.
Spill, because I want to know. That sounds juicy. What the hell? Who's doing that?
No, yeah. So some people allegedly take from their. I love saying it. They take from their friends to give to their partners. So. It's that if you some people can go to their friends for advice and for this, take away advice, for example, for experiences. Some people, if you're not with somebody that you are compatible with or that you align with, you might use that friend to fill in where your partner doesn't. So they can go back to their friend when it's like, I know that I've partnered up with a man that never wants to eat out. Go to Michelin star restaurants, travel, bowling, dancing, whatever it is. So I'm going to get that from that friend whilst I'm feeding this because, you know, he's not doing it. And then go back into my relationship and be able to then pour back into you, even though I'm not getting from you. But the only reason why I'm able to stay in this relationship is because I'm getting from my friends or my family or whoever.
Okay.
That's what I mean by
and
taking from their friends to give to their partners.
There. I'm going to throw a spanner in the work there because we can't expect your partner to give you everything anyway. So then isn't that why we have multiple friends for multiple different
I
things?
agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Maybe my example isn't the best example, but I definitely have seen, and this isn't even my own story times, I've definitely seen where people can feel like, I think a lot of people survive in their relationships because of what they're getting externally, and that just goes down to compatibility.
But I think that's in general what you should be doing anyway. If I'm honest,
I feel like you should definitely be compatible in a relationship.
I
feel like if you had,
go on.
I feel like if the vetting process went correctly, you'd be with somebody that you're a lot more aligned with, and you wouldn't have to get as many things externally. 100% I agree with your point that not everybody can give you everything. I agree with that. But I think that there's a bit more of a balance, and I feel like you definitely can choose someone that you can do quite a few things with if you choose to have a partner that's also a friend. Some people don't have that at all. And they don't experience things with their partners.
Some people don't care to have their partners as friends, actually. I've realised that. A lot of people don't actually need that.
Yeah, and some people, it depends. It's such a big conversation because it's marrying relationships that are platonic and romantic, and then there's so many different arguments on either side.
Yeah.
But as this is about how friends like change, because we literally wait, hold on. So how friends can change when they get into relationships.
Well, but the quote was placeholder, so that's why we discussed the whole placeholder situation. When we were talking about change, yes, everyone changes when they get into a relationship. I think that's natural.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Because I can say, I can give an example from my own perspective. You know, I can give a little story time or whatever. I remember a few years ago. Actually, this was a while ago now. I'm acting like I'm still a young spring chicken. I'm not. This was in my early 20s, and I was in a relationship. And one of my friends wanted to go to Ayia Napa and do an oots, 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 oots. I don't know why, because I don't even like that kind of music. But she wanted to go to Ayia Napa. And I had to say to her, babe, I'm in a relationship. I don't know whether that's a good idea. Because if I heard my partner was going to Ayia Napa, I would not be too best pleased. So...
But why?
Because, and this is obviously definitely dependent on your relationship, but at the time in my relationship, in that specific relationship, we had issues with going out too much and potentially being inappropriate while out, and it was not feasible for such a big trip, because that was just going out in the fucking UK. Now you're talking about going out overseas, and that's a whole different ball game. You can do so much other things when you're overseas that you don't have to be accountable for when you come back home, because no one's gonna know. So essentially there was trust issues is what I'm trying to say. And it just felt like that wasn't a good idea. I wouldn't want them to do it to me, so I decided I wasn't going to do it to them. And so inevitably, yes, my friend was kind of a little bit annoyed, because she was like, well, that shouldn't change just because you're in a relationship. But there are some things that your partner or you might not appreciate the other person doing naturally. And there's nothing wrong with that per se. I mean, as long as your friend's understanding, and my friend was, we changed the destination. We still went away. We just didn't go to Ayia Napa. But as long as your friends are understanding to that, then, and as long as it's not impeding a lot on the relationship, as in like you guys used to do a certain specific thing. Say you guys used to do, I don't know, pottery classes all the time, and you get into a relationship and your partner's like, I don't want you to do pottery anymore. Then that's a bit different. That's like weird, but I can still go out,
but
just
then
not
it's
in
not
another
weird.
country.
It's based on what you said to me, then it's not weird, because everybody has their thing. So say for example, if in real life, I have friends that I dine with constantly, and if I were to be with somebody that would say, I want to experience these restaurants with you sometimes, it would be up to me to then create that balance and say, okay, cool.
Yeah,
I will take you to some of those experiences.
I did.
No, but I think what you said about
outside
pottery,
the country, we could. I was saying that's a different thing. I was saying that's completely different. If you said stop doing any of those activities, if your partner said stop going out with your friends, going to eat with your friends, full stop, then obviously that's not okay. But the balance is what I was talking about. The balance between me and my friend when she said that was, okay, cool, we can still go away, but just not to this destination. We still go out in the UK, just not overseas. So there was a balance, but I'm just saying there was a bit of a
your
change.
choice of destination less of a party holiday then?
It was, yes. We still went out, but it was less of a party holiday. And listen, infidelity can happen anywhere. It can happen in your own backyard, okay? But it was just that at that time, and depending on the relationship that you have, sometimes you are going to adjust a little bit, not necessarily completely change, but adjust things that you might have done with friends when you're in a relationship. I think there's nothing necessarily wrong with that.
I agree. I think that's how to maintain a healthy relationship with your partner.
Yeah.
But I think there's a difference between that and abandoning your friend, so to speak. So forget the tweet for a second.
Yeah.
But because now the conversation, that's the whole point. We wanted to see if we can get new perspectives from it. I think that there is a difference. Because there are some people that get into relationships. Maybe not everyone, but I know a lot of people that haven't heard from someone in like 8 months, or don't. Every time that person, there's a pattern. So you might have known that person from school or something, and every time they're in a relationship, you only hear from them if they're single.
Yeah.
To me, there's a pattern there, and that happens a lot. That to me is abandoning your friendship, which is fine. However, I just think that it's better if that person doesn't have an expectation of those individuals when they do pop up again.
The reason why I don't
so long if you
go on, sorry.
Oh, so long if you're somebody that is like that and you just get completely involved in your relationship and whatever, that's absolutely fine. But I wouldn't then be that individual and expect people to just be like, yeah, hey, how are you? And just mesh me back into their lives when I came back.
No. And that's also the shift as well. Like the other friend who's been abandoned essentially will feel that shift and will adjust in their own way too. They will stop hopefully I hope they would stop giving as much energy when the friend does come back around, because that's not fair. If you haven't poured into me and you're expecting me to come back and pour 100% in, that's not fair. So I would hope that naturally the friend would be like, well, you've missed all this stuff that's going on with me and you just want to pop back in. However, I think a lot of people don't necessarily do it intentionally. I just think that once you're in a relationship, it can consume you sometimes. And I'm not saying that this
Definitely.
is for everyone, but I think that sometimes when you're in it, and it doesn't necessarily mean consume you in a good way, like not even necessarily in a honeymoon way. It can be like you're going through some fucking trauma and you don't have time to be checking in with friends because you're trying to figure this shit out and why you're so drawn to this very toxic person, and you just don't have time for that. And I think it just does depend. That's why I don't agree with the whole statement, because it is very nuanced, and I personally haven't experienced it, and I personally have only heard of it through friends of friends of friends happening. I haven't heard of it through my friends of friends of friends, if that makes sense. So I really just feel like it really does depend on your circumstance, your area, your upbringing, how you view relationships.
But then that's the point of the conversation, that it's possible.
Yes, of course, it's possible. Yeah,
exactly. The point of it is that it's possible. Of course, obviously, and we will continue, guys, to read tweets, and as we listen to your soliloquies from you guys and stuff, we'll continue to dissect and stuff. But everything really is possible. I personally, it's not necessarily how I navigate my relationships or friendships. But I definitely can see how people feel that way. Yeah. I don't know if I don't disagree with the statement at all. I think maybe the choice of words, whatever, that's, something to discuss. But I can definitely see why someone would feel like a placeholder, because some people really do have and accumulate lots and lots and lots and lots of friends, but their goal and mission is to have that relationship, and then they go, if they marry that person, they're out, because that's what they wanted. They're okay with what you said earlier, their cousins and their siblings and their partner and their children, and that's what they envision for their lives, and that too is okay. But it's also okay for that older friend or the friend that was with them when they were single or free or whatever they were doing to feel like, oh, so I was just here whilst you were in this stage of your lives, because not everybody gets that transition. It can seem like a natural transition, which I actually think it is. People are going to go into new stages of their lives, but friendships are important to some people, and I guess it goes to the same thing. You might not be compatible with that person. You might have chosen a friend that doesn't have the same view on friendships as you as to why you feel like you're a placeholder. Because if you pick that type of friend, you're going to feel abandoned. Whereas I've experienced different types of people in my life, and because I can kind of see how people are, so I don't take a lot of things personally.
Yeah.
There was definitely, because we were growing, we done so well, you know. We got this far in the podcast without using the word growing individual. But all growing individuals, there's definitely been times in my life where, of course, it would have bothered me. But at this stage in my life, no, because you just understand people. And you understand, I can immediately see when someone's going to be a friend for now, and I can definitely see the people that I'll carry throughout my life. I'm not naive to the fact that I have people around me that I don't expect to carry throughout to my dying day.
Yeah.
Which sounds like,
no, but it's true. Everything is that me? There's a lot of things for a season, even relationships. Some relationships are just for your 20s and to have kids, or not your 20s, sorry, to have kids, and then maybe afterwards during your 50s you need somebody else because you've changed. And that's another thing about relationships in general. When you change, those relationships will change inevitably, whether you're abandoning them or not. Do you know what I mean? So you could always have to adjust no matter what relationship you're in, friendships, family, partner. I think probably the statement of a lot of people don't truly invest in friendships. The reason why I don't agree with it per se is because I think a lot of people don't invest in relationships in general.
But then if that person, I understand your point, to be fair, but I think if that person, then to me, then on the other, what am I trying to say? To me, on the flip side, then that statement is true, because from the perspective of relationships in general, 100%. But if that person's saying to friendships, and we can agree that a lot of people don't invest, and that person sees it as just a friendship, then it's a friendship. To them, it's a friendship. I suppose what you're saying is, but that statement alone suggests it's just friendships. That means they're invested in relationships. And for me, I definitely can see that. Some people really do invest in their relationships and not their friendships the same. Or half the amount of energy, or put half the amount of effort, or the value, or the time, or the conversation, or the allowances, or the whatever. There's a lot of people that live like that.
I hear you.
And you're in a blessed position because you said earlier it's not something that you've experienced, or even in your inner circle, I'm assuming.
No.
That's a beautiful position to be in. That will then say a lot about your discernment, so to speak. But in the world, in the big wide world out there,
I don't think it's necessarily my discernment. I just think I understand. Like, I have a lot of married friends, a lot of friends with children, and I don't ever think to myself, because I don't speak to them very often anymore. Of course, when they didn't have children and they weren't married, we spoke all the time. But I never sat there and thought to myself, oh, you only really come to me either when it's your child's birthday, or when it's your birthday, my birthday, or when you need some help or some advice. I don't necessarily think of it that way, because I can only imagine how much energy it is to have a family as a whole. And I don't necessarily put myself in, and I know this is going to sound bad, and I'm not saying that people do this, but I don't necessarily put myself in a place of centering when it comes to other people. So, like, especially because I know,
I don't.
Yeah, especially because I know not only would they have their children, their partner, their mum, their dad, their siblings, their cousins, their aunties, their uncles, their work colleagues, and then friends, obviously not just me. It's very difficult for me to then be mad if somebody doesn't necessarily invest the same amount of time in me. However, I do understand that if you're somebody who only speaks to me when you're going through a crisis with your partner, that is a problem.
But that's where this is birthed from. People that would like, or you worded it perfectly, you don't put yourself in the centering. This was coming from an individual that was basically saying about those individuals that want to be your center. Does that make any sense?
Your friends, they want your friends to be your center.
Yeah, so some people do. They want to be in the center of your life, in your energy, and they are very present and very demanding of your time and your energy and your emotions or whatever until they get into relationships. So just because I wouldn't necessarily put myself in that position, you wouldn't necessarily put yourself in that position. A lot of people put themselves in that position and then basically fuck off when they're in relationships. So that's why I can see why someone would feel like, raw. Yeah, I was just thorough. And then you went. Do you know what I mean? Because it's if you're not that way inclined, of course, like what I was saying, you can kind of, you don't have that expectation. Do you know what I mean? It's I enjoyed the moment, you enjoy the moment, and you crack on. And as you said, gosh, I can't imagine. You're doing the school run, you're trying to remember your mum's birthday. Life moves on and people move on and they do their own thing.
Yeah.
But marriage aside and kids aside, because we're also assuming that we're speaking about marriage and kids. The statement was so blanket that it could be at any age.
Yeah,
and it could literally just be someone at 19 that gets in relationship. Exactly.
I still even haven't experienced that, like a friend just like even at that young age just ducking out. Yeah, I mean, I guess...
away from your experiences.
No, I know, but essentially we are all talking about experiences. We're not at that, and that's why I say the statement is too broad, because we're only doing it anecdotally. It's all about our experiences. In a wider context, if we both came in with our experiences, mine are obviously completely different to yours, so I can't really relate to the statement. So that's why I can't say a lot. I could just say, yeah, people do that. But I could never say a lot of people do that, because I don't know a lot of people. I only know my people. That's probably the point I'm trying to make. Is that, yes, okay, experience-wise, yeah, of course you've seen it. But if I'm saying I've never seen that, even with family, I'm trying to think, like, even with cousins and stuff, like, I will see them, and they definitely won't only really, like, call or, yeah, like, no, and I've never really...
Yeah, you can't say that a lot of people in your life do that. But I think, because I don't agree, as in, I know that a lot of people in my life don't do that. But okay. I know people that do that. So I'm not even speaking about necessarily immediate people that do that. From the statement alone, by the way, I'm saying from, like what I said earlier in the podcast, we are a podcast, you know what I mean? But what I've witnessed, I can see that people do that. So just people that I can say, oh, okay, cool. Whether they're a work colleague, people that I used to rave with and we've just been in groups together. I'm talking about just people that aren't celebrities or people that I've seen online or heard of in blogs and podcasts. Yeah, actually, there's quite a few people that do that, because remember, we're talking of us and our discernment and how we navigate friendships and how we value friendships. But there's a pool of us. And then there's the world.
That's what I'm saying. So how can we say... I'm being very pedantic at this point. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm sorry, guys. It's probably the word a lot. I never group a whole... Because I think we had this conversation when we were in the podcast with... we had a podcast, guys, with Aaron and Nate. Make sure you go check it out, when we were talking about men and women and their relationships. And are they committed to hating each other or something like that? And I remember saying that just because we are surrounded, or we see a lot of men, especially in the black community, we see a lot of situations where, I don't know, men are the prize, quote unquote, or whatever, or they have more options, doesn't necessarily mean that that's a blanket statement for the rest of the world. That just means it's the blanket statement for our community. And not even...
Well, no, I agree. Okay, yeah. I think what's happening here is that we agree. We agree that it's a blanket statement. Yes. We agree that it can't possibly be everybody, because there are some amazing people that have amazing friendships. And we agree that there are a portion of people, just like any other topic that we could potentially discuss, that do actually do that. So we can't... So your side is saying, I haven't witnessed that. And my side is essentially saying, I'm not going to take away from the fact that people experience that every single day.
Yeah, I'm not saying that people don't experience that every single day. I'm just saying the a lot part. That's why I said I'm being pedantic, and I'm sorry about it, but the a lot of people don't truly invest in friendships. I would just rephrase that to say some people don't truly invest in friendships, because I don't know if it's a lot. I know it happens. 100% it happens.
Yeah, okay, well, it's just you being pedantic, because the wording versus the actual topic itself isn't as important.
Oh, no, I mean, I said people do that. I just can't say it's like out of like 100, I can't say it's like 80 people that would do that.
There was no statistic. There was no number.
I'm analytical.
She's literally just being annoying. So basically, you've listened to all of this to know that Ebz is having an annoying day.
I put a new perspective. My analytics say that the statement is wrong.
There are so many things. Like, don't even do that. Don't get people comfortable being like, well, you said would and not was. Like, you just opened a can of worms. So good luck to you. In your soliloquy, soliloquies, I want you to listen and comb through this podcast and make sure, yeah, when you come with your soliloquies.
Can I just no, because my mum literally, we just had this conversation. She gets so annoyed with me because she'll be like, but some things are implied, and I'm like, no, they're fucking not. Like, what? If I don't hear you say something, and if you don't make sure that it's what you mean, then I'm gonna take it as what you said. Like, I'm not mind
that's
reader.
Absolutely fine. But there are some individuals that can actually see the other perspective and just like to be difficult.
I can see the other perspective.
And today you have become that. No, let me finish. You've decided to be the difficult individual. And that is on that. So we need like a little sound effect to be like, and that's going to be, you get the hat today for difficult individual. Don't worry. I have my, no, you get the hat today. You can pass the hat back over in the podcast. I'm the difficult one.
I never said no one does it. I'm just saying not a lot of people do it.
It doesn't matter. This is a new thing. I've just introduced a new game, okay?
Fine.
Ebz is wearing the difficult hat. And then when I'm difficult, you can put the hat on my head.
Fine. I'm being...
She's going to be... I just want
you to... a pedantic hat. I think that's
okay, the pedantic hat. And what's going to happen, guys? I just want you to really understand that I've said this to you. You heard it here first. She's going to be gagging to give me the pedantic. And I just want you to know that. Mark my words. He's going to be gagging.
To be fair, I don't think you're pedantic like me anyway, so you probably won't get it.
Yeah.
That was bad.
Here at last.
So, any new perspectives? Yes, I agree with the statement if it said some people don't truly invest in their friendships. I'm kidding. No, I obviously I agree with the statement. I did agree with the statement. I'm just saying I don't necessarily I think there's a lot of nuance in it, and I do think that it really truly does depend. You're right. Some people don't invest in their friendships like that. They invest everything in their romantics, but I do also believe that some people just don't invest in any of them, or invest too much in both and can't manage both. So I think that's my new perspective of that, to be fair. Oh no, what about you? Anything changed from the beginning?
No. Nothing's necessarily changed. I think that my perspective now from what it was at the beginning is that some people are probably quite similar, just the last part about the balance. I think the perspective of actually, some people are too invested in both and don't necessarily find the balance. And then what happens is, well, in my mind, what happens is they kind of understand, well, this is a relationship and the person I want to see myself with, so it should be over here, and that's where it gets lost in translation and the friend feels lost.
They pick.
They feel that they have to pick and not have conversations around it. So
that's why you got to be pedantic. Because
absolutely
if you have
not. You just put that, you know, the hat I've envisioned on your head, you know, the one that you get to tie around your fucking neck.
No, do you know what I want? I want the Harry Potter one. When they decide whether
you don't get to be a wizard. It's not a prize, Ebz. It's not a prize. You don't get to have a wizard hat. You are going to get the one that goes in a bow around your neck, like, you know, the schoolgirls in the pinafore dresses.
The Harry Potter one does go around a bow around your, like, your chin.
You're just exposing the fact that I literally have only ever seen like 2 Harry Potter films in my life.
I'm sorry. Well, the
Winds of Fire or something. Yeah.
Slytherin, Gryffindor.
The Winds of it's like Winds of Fire, and the one where he's under the stairs. The Phoenix, the Rising Phoenix. Chamber of Secrets. See?
You went through so many.
Do you know why? Because I'm not going to lie to you guys. I actually get really stressed when I talk about Harry Potter, because everyone looks at me with judgy eyes. They can't believe. It's almost like I said, I exposed who the mother was in How I Met Your Mother when someone was on season 1. That's how I feel.
God, that was actually hilarious, because you went through so many different like topics of Harry Potter. But yeah, no, I don't think any of them are called the Windlet. What? Windlet of Fire?
The Winds of Fire? Goblet of Fire.
Goblet of Fire, yeah. Don't worry, I'm not a Harry Potter stan anyway, so it's fine. I won't judge you, babe. I won't judge you. But anyway, guys, send us in.
Oh my God, is it guys?
Guys, send us in your soliloquies and let us know if you've experienced a friendship where, you know, you felt like they put you on a placeholder until they got into a relationship, or vice versa. Or just
changing. Let's take, just in case there's any pedanticians out there.
God, all right.
There's a name. Just tell us your stories. Have you had a relationship and you feel like you've changed, or have you experienced it as the friend where your friends got into a relationship and you feel like they've changed, and what did that look like?
Yeah.
And how did you handle it? And if you want to give us the real tea, and you know we love tea over here, are you friends now?
Give us
I really want to know.
like, we really want to know. Guys, I loved this conversation. I actually, like, delved quite a bit in this, actually, and got some different ideas in my head. But yeah, thank you guys. We
Also, I just had a
appreciate you.
moment where by the time they come back with the next, you guys come back with the next soliloquy, we're going to be like, new perspective, new perspective.
By the way, get used to that with us, because honestly, the more we talk about things, the more we get new perspectives, and then like our minds just constantly change. It's never the same thing from one day to the next, and that's fine. Like, that's the journey.
Guys, we're actually going to be going live. I love that. Where you guys will be able to have high sense or no sense, because I know you guys loved it and we loved it. I absolutely loved it.
It's not going anywhere. It's just coming live and direct to you.
Yes, so we can have those conversations with you guys whilst we're just exploring if it's high sense, low sense, or if it don't make no sense.
Yeah, so tell us all of your shit. We want to hear everything. So please listen out for the lives. Please follow us on Instagram so you know what's happening.
And hit the notification, please, everywhere. Because we might just one day pop up on the live, you don't even know it.
You don't want to miss that. That would be sad. But yes, anyway. Bye!
Bye!